Creepy paper.
It's crepe paper.
Creepy paper.
It's crepe paper, master?
Creepy. Oh, multi-pack.
The Halloween season is upon us, so in the spirit of celebrating the strange and unusual, I wanted to discuss some of my favorite delightfully unhinged and painfully awkward vampires displayed in one of my favorite shows currently airing, FX's What We Do in the Shadows, a series that explores the daily lives of the blood-sucking undead and what they do in their hypothetically eternal and semi-shadowy afterlife. And just a heads up, very minor spoilers ahead as I give a general overview of the first 3 seasons of the show, as well as the movie that precedes it. But before we get into all of that, my name is Cher, and this is my art and commentary space where I like to talk about art and media that interests me. If you're new here, hi, hello. Welcome. Feel free to check out my previous 2 videos that I just did, after watching the video, of course, and if you're returning, welcome back. Always a pleasure to see you again. Also, let me know down in the comments if you've seen the show or the movie at all, and if you haven't, if you're interested in checking them out. But with that out of the way, let's get into this video. The series What We Do in the Shadows is based on the 2014 film of the same name that was written, directed, and acted in by Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clement. The basic premise of both works revolves around centuries-old vampire roommates being filmed in a documentary as they navigate not only the supernatural world and all of its dangers, but also the biggest danger of all, living and functioning in the modern world. Both works take a dark humor approach to the life, or afterlife, of vampires and utilize classic staples of the mockumentary genre like quick glances to the camera and moments of absurdity, first-person confessional-style character asides, and lampshading the idea of normally very private and secret lives of vampires being recorded by cameras for all the world to see. Kind of like The Office, though I don't recall any of the camera crew in that show getting eaten. Did have bats though. And though both the show and movie share a similar framework, fans of the original film who've not yet seen the show will be pleased to know that the series takes many, in my opinion, successful changes and veers far away enough from the original film to stand on its own, but not so much that it's unrecognizable to its predecessor. The first of these changes being in location, with the show swapping out Wellington, New Zealand, where the original film is set, for Staten Island, New York. The second change being in the cast and household structure, where we now follow a new set of characters such as Nandor the Relentless, or just Nandor, a former bloodthirsty conqueror who has lost most of his edge in the centuries following his turning. He's now just become this sort of awkward and out-of-touch guy who's trying to assert a level of dominance that he just doesn't quite have anymore. I really like Nandor because I notice he's kind of like this fusion between Viago and Vladislav from the first film, where most of their amusing qualities are now just combined into this one character. Then there is Laszlo, an English nobleman with a notable interest in the perverse and sexually explicit, I'll just say. He is joined by his wife, Nadja, who possibly has some of the least regard for humans at times, and is also notable for giving a refreshing female perspective to the main cast, which is something that the main film didn't really have, while also still engaging in hijinks of her own, as well as showing a pretty intimidating streak at times. Then we have Colin Robinson, who rounds out the main vampire cast, and with him we are introduced to a new type of vampire to this franchise, that of the energy vampire. Energy vampires in the series come with very specialized traits, like not only being able to feed off of human energy, but also vampire energy as well. Colin's main way of achieving this is through either being really boring or really annoying, to the main cast at least. I am personally very entertained by his methods. Breaking off even further from the established vampires, he seems the most adept out of the 4 at navigating modern technology and human interaction. There is still a bit of mystery in the show as to where energy vampires come from exactly, whether they're turned or born that way. And season 3 has really been dangling this over our heads, so I am excited to see what answers, if any, the show will have for us. And last, but certainly not least, we have Guillermo. Sweet Guillermo. His role is as the human familiar to Nandor, but he in actuality acts as the grunt worker or maid to all the other housemates, doing things like disposing of bodies, making sure the curtains are closed during the day, and general house upkeep. Like many a vampire familiar, he hopes to one day be turned into one by his master, Nandor, though a running joke in the show implies that this is very unlikely to happen. In later seasons, we see a different side of Guillermo, from accidental vampire killer to badass Van Helsing slayer. With his recent promotion, mostly in name only, to vampire bodyguard in the 3rd season, I'm kind of wondering what his motives are going to be moving forward. Now we get to the third change, that being the expansion of the supernatural world and exploration of various creatures, which naturally an entire series is more time to delve into when compared to just one film. In addition to the culture of vampires and werewolves who we're familiar with, we get episodes on witches, ghosts, zombies, oh my. Fun guest appearances and cameos are also littered throughout the series, and you can tell that the actors are having the time of their lives in these roles. But with all these zany antics, the series never loses focus about what's at its undead heart, that being themes of feeling out of place, immigration, and other subjects I picked up on along the way. More than just a franchise about bloodthirsty monsters, the series and film, for that matter, continue to explore the fish out of water theme. The majority of the cast, both main and recurring, are living outside of time in a world that is constantly passing them by and evolving. Vampires in the show are constantly taken by surprise by new technology and are always slow to adapt and continue to cling to old world ideals and technology. A season 3 episode points this out well when a much younger group of vampires threaten the authority and necessity of a vampiric council with newer and radical ideas that threaten the vampiric order and thus must be dealt with swiftly. Very swiftly. Themes of immigration are also prominent in the series. I mean, it's no mistake that the show takes place in New York, which is not only a hub of cultural diversity, but is also the site of Ellis Island, which was one of the busiest immigration stations in the United States. There is even an episode in season 1, episode 8, that further explores an element of the immigration experience, where Nandor is inspired to finish his application for US citizenship, due to feeling displaced after learning that his home country, Al-Qanadar, is now dissolved, as well as the 1992 USA Olympic basketball team, apparently. Previous themes of being out of touch relate here again, as the old world vampires learn to adjust to technology and customs that are entirely new to them. The show also introduces many other themes of its own into the series, one of which being the queer and sexually fluid subtext inherent to a vampire narrative is now just text in the series proper. And it was nice to see that element be introduced very early on in the first season. Like, there's this one scene in season 1 where both Nadja and Laszlo reminisce on the separate intimate trysts that they have with the male Baron. And while that revelation comes off as a surprise at first, the pansexual bisexuality of vampires becomes just as accepted into the show's lore as fangs or being able to turn into a bat. Laszlo is mainly the character through which we see these queer themes materialize, be it through the overt and implied intimate engagements with Nandor, as well as other male characters in the series, or misreading platonic signals as homoromantic flirting. But okay, there's also this like will they won't they situation going on between Nandor and Guillermo that's kind of existed since the first season, but I feel like the writers have really been laying it on thick in the third season so far, at least. And I don't know, I don't think the pairing would be like too out there. I have no real strong opinions on it myself. I think it'd be cool for the show to have a queer relationship more prominently featured. And if you guys have also noticed this as well, let me know down in the comments what you think about this particular pairing. And there's also like a few sapphic undertones between Nadja and Jenny in season 1 that I didn't really pick up on until I saw a edited video on YouTube a while back. Moving on from the themes, I think overall the show does what the best parodies do. Satirizing the hell out of a genre while also embracing the campiness and absurd aspects of it. And it is so clear that the creators and writers clearly have a lot of love and respect for vampire stories, and I just like that the show shows these characters who are just perfectly awkward messes, and it's perfect for our perfectly awkward and messy times. The acting in the show is also superb. I think that the main cast have really great chemistry with each other, and their comedic timing is also really great. I also found out recently that the series has an after show hosted by Harvey Guillen, who plays the character of Guillermo, and that really just kind of delves into the behind the scenes of the show and how it gets made, from actors to makeup and cast and crew. So I recommend that you guys check that out if you're interested. There's a lot more of the show that I would love to cover, but in the interest of leaving you all to discover the show's twists and turns and overall humor, I'll just leave it here. Since season 3 is not yet finished airing at the time of recording this video, let me know if you'll be interested in a season 3 recap and beyond, since the show has now been renewed for a 4th season, so leave your thoughts on that down in the comments. But I also want to know, what are your thoughts on the show and movie, if you've seen it already, if you've seen it at all, who are your favorite characters, what are your favorite moments, just generally any thoughts and opinions that you have on the show, and whether or not you'd like to see recap videos in the future. But aside from that, make sure to subscribe to my channel, follow me on my Twitter and Instagram. My Ko-fi links as well as my INPRNT links are down in the description. But with all that said, I think I'm going to end it here, and I will see you all in the next video.